Okay, hi everyone. My name is Lev. I'm here to talk today about the legalization of all drugs. Now, this is a bit of a radical proposal, and it's coming at a time where tensions are really high when it comes to the whole George Floyd situation. But at the same time, I've been meaning to always do this kind of video for the longest of time. That being said, I will be making more videos regarding typology more so, but this was something that I think I just wanted to get off my chest, and just, finally put it on YouTube. Because I do like the stuff of politics and all, but I don't want to get too involved. That being said, I think I have a lot of good points here that I want to share with you guys. So typology videos are coming, especially videos on charisma, but let's get on to this here. So why the issue of legalizing drugs? The U.S. since 1970s has had a drug war since Richard Nixon enacted it. I mean, they had like illegal drugs from even beforehand, but like they really started pushing it from that point on. And so I need to now evaluate from 1970 to 2020 how effective it has been. And for the most part, to me and to a lot of other people, it hasn't been effective enough in curbing drug use, and it's actually had a lot of unintended consequences. And one of the biggest ones is actually fatherless homes. So I'm not saying that the drug wars are the absolute cause of it, the only cause of it. There's plenty of other issues involved. Actually, one of the biggest things is, like, can we get to a point where we all actually love our neighbor as ourselves? One of the things that does cause fatherless homes is the drug war. Because why? Well, because fathers are going in, they can't be making as much money as they used to, because the dollar has been deflated and all that, and for other reasons, and inequality, as I said before. But now they turn to the selling drugs, and they have a higher chance of either being killed on the streets by gangs and all that, or getting arrested. And as a result, the kids don't see their fathers anymore. Like, they have to work really hard for this. And I think this is like a really big issue in terms of like how it's actually kind of destroying society as we know it. Like, without a father, there are so many statistics out there saying that kids are going to be more misbehaving in school, boys are going to be committing more crimes, girls are going to be into more provocative sexual acts and all that kind of stuff. So we gotta fix that issue, and we gotta fix it soon, in my opinion. The other thing is that, of course, the racial tensions. Now, I don't have the statistics on this, so take this for what you will. But when it comes to blacks and other minorities, they tend, more so I would say blacks, they tend to get arrested a lot more than those that are, than the whites. Even though like it's of the same use, I don't have the quote from that. I don't know where it's from, so take it for what you will. I've heard it, but it is what it is. So if that is the case, the thing is that do we need laws like these in order to and have a rising, growing jail population? It's not needed. We don't need to be separating fathers from their families. And I'm not just saying fathers are involved in this, because of course there's also the drug user themselves. It could be of any gender or whatever. Realistically speaking, though, we need to step it up when it comes to this drug issue, because it actually ends up separating families and all that. Now, the thing is that there are objectives to it, and there are actual credible objectives to it, that it could increase drug use, and it could affect the children. It could send a bad signal to the children that it's okay to do these kind of things and take drugs or sell it and all that. And it could increase violence, because if you have more people that are doing these kind of drugs and all that, and gangs and all, well, or more so like just doing the drugs, that they could become more violent people. Now, I sympathize with those needs, because what is it? People need, let's just say it's anti-drug people, they need physical well-being for sure, and I think everybody can sympathize with that, and also some consistency in their life. So for the past 50 some odd years, and I'm not saying just the US, but in the rest of the world and all, there has been a drug war going on. Do people really want change? No. I mean, generally speaking, a lot of conservatives and even liberals don't want this kind of change to happen. But I want to say in this video, what is it that, are we actually looking at it from the perspective of what we want to see or from the actual truth. Because to me, it doesn't matter if I'm actually right. What matters is the truth. Like, that's what I want to get to. And I don't have necessarily like the most factual arguments. Like, I'm not in the drug scene and all that, and I'm not the one arresting people, and I don't have all the crimes and facts. So just take this as more of like a philosophical kind of argument, and with sprinkled in with some evidential facts and all, with like in terms of costs and everything. But it's also like logically speaking, like deducing everything, or well, maybe rationale speaking. Let's look at it. Let's look at it from this perspective. Are we getting the needs met that both people, both the anti-drug people and the ones that are legalizing it, are they actually getting their needs met? I would say by legalizing drugs that we actually can get our needs met, most of our needs met, and by leaving it illegal, you actually aren't, like, you're kind of putting a blindfold on to not realize, look, whether if it was legal or illegal, it doesn't matter. People can still get their drugs. So your physical well-being might still be affected regardless if it's legal and open and available, as opposed to if it was illegal. So let me start out by saying the first argument, which is I want to kind of get this one out of the way because a lot of conservatives don't want to hear this one because it's like, oh, you can't equate alcohol to drugs. Well, I mean, let's look at the prohibition of alcohol. So what happened is that people were still able to get the alcohol, and the alcohol was a lot more. I mean, like you had a lot more moonshine. It was higher percentage-wise in terms of alcohol, so you had like a lot hard liquor and all that. And the thing is that addiction, like with alcohol and with just like any sort of drug, you're gonna be willing to take the risk of having punishment for these kind of drugs and alcohol and all that. So, do we really want to be putting people into jail and isolating them in the black market and only in the secluded societies and all that? Or do we want to have a more compassionate approach in which we actually have people more rehabilitating themselves? So the thing is that when they're caught, you can't get a job as easily with it. So you're left in the market of basically like the black market and whoever like your friends and associated with, not like, so the friends of the drug community and all that, and not your original friends and family and churches and all these kind of different communities. You could end up going to rehab if it wasn't so much of a scare to people to go into rehabilitation. That's one of the things that, like, when it comes to going you want to get help and all that when you're doing these drugs. But the thing is that you're afraid if somebody's going to snitch on you and then you're going to go to jail and all that. Do we really want people to be going to jail and not recovering? Or do we want to help recover people and get them back into society producing more than they're consuming? I say that's a much better solution to, when it comes to that. But let's go on to the next point, which is actually the rise of gangs. So if you make something illegal, well, there's still a demand for it regardless of if it's illegal or not. So you're pushing it over to the black market. The black market isn't regulated in terms of or compared to that of the free market, in the sense of like there's going to be competition in the free market. In the free market, like if you were to make a bad product, like let's say if you were to put rat poison in alcohol and you got caught with that, your company's toast. But when it comes to the black market in terms of drugs, yeah, good luck with that. I mean, people are going to be addicted to it, and they don't care what they put in. They want to lower down the cost as much as possible, and they also want to get you addicted. Whereas like what Milton Friedman once said, and maybe this doesn't apply now, but Milton Friedman argued that you don't need to have somebody be addicted in a legal free market when the drugs are available everywhere. They can get it. Wouldn't you rather have these drugs be of higher quality in the sense of like it's not going to be poisonous, it's not going to like hurt them in ways that were unintended? I don't want, like I think I should mention this, I don't want people to be taking drugs, but if they're going to be taking drugs, you want to keep it as safe as possible, right? Now, regardless of all, and like talking about safety and all that, so you have police and gangs now running the streets and like going after each other. You're increasing the chances, because there's a lot more gangs, because there's a huge market for drugs and all that, instead of it being like at a pharmacy like it was before the drug wars, like 1930s I think it was, or 1920s. Don't quote me on it. But you have all these police and you have these gangs fighting amongst each other. Milton Friedman actually argued that you actually end up having more people die from the drug war than the drugs themselves. So, you have a mass incarceration, and you also have people dying in terms of like fighting to protect their profits and all that. Do we really want to continue that? I argue, not really. Drugs are smaller so that they're not as easy to trace, but they're more potent because of the drug war. Again, the quality issue is another big issue. More people are easily addicted to these kind of things. I would argue compared to that of the free market, but I mean, like, you do have addictive substances in the free market. It's not to say, like, okay, I'm just saying, like, they would be safer to take and administer. This is actually from, I think his name is, like, Crump. I will put him down into the description. I don't remember his name. This is actually someone I vehemently disagree. He's an anarcho-communist. He said that the prisons, they are... like, if you have somebody going into... I'm not saying he said like people are going to jail for this, but like, regardless. He said that prisons are prisons of university. So what I mean by that is basically... Or universities of crime, sorry. What I mean by that is to say, look, these people, the chances are they do these kind of crimes because they're in a more impoverished kind of state, right? They go into the drug war, they go and sell drugs, and then all of a sudden they go into jail because they were selling drugs and all that. Police catch them and all that. And who are the inmates? Probably other drug offenders or drug dealers and all that, right? Well, if they're going to be associating with those people, chances are they'll also learn from those people, right? So they're going to take the tactics and avoid getting into those kind of situations, like with the police and all that. And of course, other kind of tactics that, like, frankly, is not necessary, right? So you end up also just keeping people in the same state that they were before. So it's like they were once selling drugs. Where are they going to go? Well, now they have a criminal record. So now where are they going to go? Well, they can go back to the streets. They can get a lower end job and not like this higher end job that we all would rather people aspire to. And not to say like there's anything bad with a low end job. I'm just saying, like, if we can produce bigger and better things, why would we restrict that, right, from an individual that can do it? And then like when it comes to women, they might end up going into like the pornography industry or something like that. Instead of decriminalizing these drugs, like people advocate, like, this is first step. No. If you want to get rid of the gangs, you legalize it. There's no way that the gangs can actually compete with the free market. The free market is there so that you don't have the issues that the gangs will. If you decriminalize it, okay, so like you're saying some people have like a little possession of some sort of drugs. Okay, so we protect those who are drug users, but we're not going after the real way of going after the drug dealers. So, which would be to get rid of the drug dealers via the free market. Anyways, moving on. So budget cost. Now, the first objection people are going to say about when it comes to budget costs in terms of the drug war is, well, our healthcare prices are going to go up. Yes, but that being said, can we recoup the costs? That's the question. So from 1970 to 2010, and I'll have a link in the description as to where I got this information from, the addiction rates in the US were 1.5% plus or minus 0.5% from 1970 to 2010. But the price and the cost to run the drug war totaled $1.5 trillion. Wouldn't it be nice to wipe away $1.5 trillion off the U.S. federal budget? Well, okay, I don't know if it's just U.S. federal budget, if it's including state, but it's still money that, you could have used somewhere else. What could this so we save that money, then we also move the policing off from drugs, but we also, move them over to smaller crimes, or, we have less cops. Like, if there's less of a demand for cops, then we can, save money there, and we can have like the best of cops, so we don't have another like George Floyd situation in our hands where somebody's like putting a knee on their neck, which ridiculous. But so you have more people doing more productive jobs because they don't have a criminal record, right? So they're producing into the society. A lot of laws that are, in my eyes, unconstitutional, right? they should be challenged. But yet we're putting in so much effort into enforcing drug laws that frankly we don't have enough time, enough judges, enough jurors, and the costs are ridiculous because there's so much demand for lawyers. Why wouldn't we want to like get rid of such a segment and such a demand for that, and then focus in on the issues that actually matter, right? Like if you're a conservative, wouldn't you want to have the Second Amendment protected and all that, or the Fourth Amendment in terms of your privacy issues, which is a huge issue when it comes to these drug laws. Oh, that's another thing I forgot to mention from beforehand, which is just like the way that the police actually do a lot of these like property crime deals, like in terms of drugs and all that, is like they have to set somebody up for this. And I think if I'm not mistaken, one time in Joe Rogan's podcast, I remember hearing was like one cop was trying to set up another person, but that other person didn't know that they were a cop, and that person was a cop themselves. So they were setting up each other themselves. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, property is property, people. And the thing is that if you want to protect people's rights, right, you have to protect their property. That's theirs. Whatever they do with it is their own kind of thing. It's not... Look, it doesn't directly affect you. It indirectly affects you, but it doesn't directly affect your right to live, your right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, security of person, all that kind of stuff, your right to vote, all those kind of things. If somebody were to be in a separate place doing the drugs, they wouldn't affect you. But the whole thing is that once they get violent or once they do something that does infringe the laws, yeah, I'm on your side. Let's lock this person up for what they did, and like put them in a court of law, put them in a trial, and let's do that for sure. But the thing is that what I would rather do when it comes to the people that are doing drugs is instead of putting them in jail, which they're gonna go crazy in there going in jail, especially if they're an addict and all that, you would rather have them go through a rehabilitation center. Don't let them, it's a more compassionate approach. People aren't afraid to go they would be afraid to go to jail, but they wouldn't be as afraid to go into rehabilitation because there's no snitches and all that. Yeah, it's going to cost a little bit more in terms of healthcare, but like the increase in terms of people working and all that. Okay, it's going to take some time. I agree in the sense of like, yeah, they have to get rehabilitated first, but then in the long run, my gosh, you save so much money and they become producing and all that. And if you want to tax it, I'm not a fan of taxing, but like you can tax them. Okay, real quick guys, what I meant to say in this video was actually to say that when people are doing drugs, they're indirectly affecting other people, but they aren't directly affecting anybody's rights. That's what I meant to say, so continue loud. If you're going to be, putting people into jail for things that they do indirectly, well then that's such a huge and bad precedent, which has been set already, unfortunately, for other things to also be illegal. Like, SJWs can very much just say, like, oh, trigger words indirectly offend me, we should lock up people. Yeah, okay, that's really smart, okay. It's the same argument. You can't argue against it. And the same thing with the gun situation, right? Like, you have a gun, right? You want to protect your rights, right? But then the government comes in and tries to take your guns away. It's a piece of property, right? Just like the drugs. And, like, I'm not saying, like, oh, it's, like, guns kill people and drugs kill people. I'm not, like, having that kind of argument. I'm saying, look, you have a right to your own property. You have a right to defend your property. It is yours. Whatever you do doesn't matter as long as you don't infringe on somebody else's rights. And doing drugs doesn't infringe on somebody else's rights. You're affecting yourself. I don't advocate it. Let me be clear. I don't advocate it, but it is your property rights. If you want to uphold the Constitution, all these politicians want to uphold the Constitution when they go up there, and each and every single president, has their hand on their heart and their hand on the Bible or whatever it is, saying the oath to the office and all that. They're not upholding it if they continue this drug war. Okay, take this one for what you will, but okay, I don't know where I got this from, but maybe the government. This is a theory. Maybe the government is there to protect the big cartels and get rid of the small ones to protect the so that the big cartels have a monopoly. Maybe they get us something out of it. I don't know. I don't have that, so take that for what you will. Again, would there be more use? Okay, yes, maybe. But, like, do you really need laws to tell you that you don't want to take heroin? Like, sorry, but I don't even need a law to tell me that. I don't want to take heroin. That stuff is, whoa, too far. And like, when it comes to children and all that, again, let's bring the responsibility back to the parents. The parents are the ones that are supposed to be raising the children. And well, technically also like the community around the kids in terms of the grandparents and friends of friends and all that can also be, teaching them these kind of things. But it's just like, hello, this is what we're there for. This is like, it's not the government's there to raise your kids. You're there to raise your own kids, right? So don't tell me that you need the government to tell you like, to do your own job. That's not, you set yourself up for this kind of situation by choosing to have a kid. Wouldn't you want the autonomy and the independence and the freedom to raise your kids the way you want? And I don't think any parent wouldn't say like, oh yeah, take drugs and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying it'd be better off this way. So yeah, just to close things up, the drug war, it's expensive, it's costing lives, it's dividing people. It hasn't worked. You have the same amount of people that are addicted to drugs as you did from the start of the drug war back in 1970. I say it's time for a different approach. I say it's time to legalize all drugs. Yes, okay, maybe we could start out by decriminalizing it and see how it goes. I'm for making sure people are safe and comfortable, as a baby step kind of plan. But ultimately, it really comes down to just legalizing this stuff. We have to do something. I do believe, I don't believe necessarily like anything will come out of this video, but it would be good if people watched this and maybe changed their minds and like looked at it from a different kind of lens. My mind changed. It was because I understood the importance of protecting liberty and protecting lives. And I saw through this and all, and I looked at the Portugal situation and it went, well, I mean, like, you had less people dying from these drugs. Now, I don't know exactly all the statistics in terms of like, did more people do them or less? I think it was less, if I'm not mistaken. But, looking through all that, wouldn't it be great if we can have more people coming together as opposed to dividing and separating each other? Let's have a compassionate approach to legalizing to drugs and all that. Because here's the thing, right? I bet you know somebody that has done drugs before. Are you willing to put that person, let's say it's friends or family, I'm not saying enemy, because but if you have a friend or a family member that has done drugs, do you really want to put them in jail, or do you really want to get them the help that they need? That's how I'm going to end it. And maybe this will actually help change the way that we look at policing and the black and white issue and the racial issues and all that kind of stuff. If we had like less cops focusing on that, maybe you wouldn't see so many cops killing people and all that kind of stuff, regardless of race, right? I'm just saying, let's just take a step forward. Let's see what happens. We've gone through 50 years of this, 50 plus years of this. I think it's time that we do something different. Okay, sweet. I got it all in one take. Yeah, it was a bit rushed and it was a bit like, all over the place, but I'm glad I got it in. Thank you for watching. Hit like if you liked it. Share, subscribe, favorite, all that kind of stuff. Watch later. Comment down below. Tell me if I'm an idiot. Please, I want your feedback, guys. Like, tell me, was I wrong in certain kind of situations? What do you guys think? This is what I want to know. Like, give me your feedback. Do you want me to make more of these kind of videos in terms of like how we can help society and all that? Again, I don't want to get too political on my channel, but I do want to hear what you have to say. So please, thank you for watching. Peace out. Peace out? Peace out. Shit.